what you get out of technology depends on the design that you have. So you have to be careful when you design technology.
Today, I am joined by the amazing Rebecca Gorman of Aligned AI.
We are a research lab headquartered in Oxford, England, to make artificial intelligence more precise, reliable, and controllable by human beings. We're interested in augmenting human learning, human creation, human exploration, human discovery. There's actually fundamental problems in the way that AI systems across the board are being developed.
What is the potential? What is the positive potential for AI in terms of humanity?
When we design technology, we have the ability to design technology that augments human potential and human creativity. If you want to build something that helps humanity, you need to build something that has comprehension and understanding and reasoning. We can work to reduce bias in artificial intelligence systems. We can reduce discrimination. We can work to reduce mistakes by artificial intelligence.
So hello and welcome to another of our Sparks Talks. We are delighted to be rolling these out from the Global Innovation Forum. And today I am joined by the amazing Rebecca Gorman of Aligned AI. Rebecca, welcome to our Sparks Talk. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you, Tom. An honor to be here.
Rebecca, you will do a better job of it than I will. Can you just say a few words about yourself and also about Aligned AI for our audience?
Okay. Well, about me, I was born and raised in Silicon Valley. Built my first AI in the early 2000s. And have been caring deeply about AI ethics and bias and misprediction or misunderstanding by artificial intelligence ever since. And we've created Aligned AI to correct these kind of fundamental limitations in artificial intelligence systems. So we are a research lab headquartered in Oxford, England, to make artificial intelligence more precise, reliable, and controllable by human beings.
Interesting. So maybe that begs the question, are the sort of flaws, are the challenges with AI that you see the opposite of that? The, not so precise, not so reliable. What are the flaws that you're trying to address?
Artificial intelligence, the way that it's being built, the best practices and standards in industry today, it's built with a lot of blind spots that are inherent limitations in the way artificial intelligence is being created.
Right. And that's things that we'll be experiencing as users of other platforms. I mean, is this hallucinations and the like?
Hallucinations and the like. It's hallucinations are a really interesting recent example of these kinds of mistakes in AI systems.
Yeah.
But you also see them when you have discriminatory HR systems, or when you have social media platforms that are causing depression and self-harm.
Yeah.
Or polarization and extremism, etc. So there's actually fundamental problems in the way that AI systems across the board are being developed. What we call artificial intelligence, we keep shifting it to be the latest computerized thing that we think is human-like. So ChatGPT kind of talks like a human that's sending you a chat message. So now that's the most human-like thing to us, or at least it's the newest thing. And so we feel like that's AI, and maybe the stuff we were calling AI 5 years ago that's behind, algorithms, maybe we're not calling that AI so much anymore, even though both systems are built on top of machine learning. I have this book on Western civilization that was written in the early 70s. And I was just flipping through the introduction the other day, and it said, the epitome of human civilization is in this quest for artificial intelligence that we're going through right now. And that's 50 years ago.
The question is artificial intelligence different? Is it different to the sort of worries that we've had over the printing press or over the telephone or some of these challenges? Is it a truly revolutionary technology, and should we therefore be treating it sort of with much more care and caution?
I think generative AI is revolutionary in much the same way as the printing press or the telephone, not because of the machine learning behind it being all that unique, but because of the generation specifically creating a new form of communication in the way that the printing press or the telephone did. So with the telephone, you could contact your neighbor without leaving your house.
Yeah.
You could connect with your family abroad without having to take a plane or a train or a flight. And with the printing press, you were actually able to get this decentralization of ideas where you could go down to your local printer with something you wrote same day or next day, it'd be distributed to your entire town. And suddenly the entire town started participating in this forum of ideas together, and region by region there was this participation of minds that really led to this desire and craving for democracy that we started to see over the last from the 1500s into the 1800s. And now with generative AI, where these stochastic algorithms are generating word after word that seem human-like, at least in comparison to what computers have generated for us before. And we start to have the infrastructure to generate this en masse at will. We might begin to have different expectations for what kind of information is available to us, say on the public internet, for example. And a lot of these changes might be very different from what we hope to see. For instance, as everyone might know by now, Google invented the large language model, the backbone of ChatGPT, but did not release it for years before OpenAI was founded and built ChatGPT. And it's easy to understand why.
Yes.
Their revenue depends on a search engine, and if you can automate the output of trillions of pages of text that are optimized for search engine optimization, what happens to Google's business model? And also what happens to the way that we've learned to seek out information over the last 30 years?
Yes. I mean, you've raised so many fundamental questions. I'd like to come back to a couple of them, but do you see a positive? I mean, you're co-founder of an AI company, so I'm sure you do, but what is the potential? What is the positive potential for AI in terms of humanity? And I mean, I know that's a kind of enormous question, and I'm going to give you sort of 2-3 minutes to answer it, but what's your vision? What would you like to contribute to this space?
Well, I think that's a fantastic question. I personally don't believe that technology is neutral. I believe science is neutral, but technology is designed, and what you get out of technology depends on the design that you have. So you have to be careful when you design technology. Sometimes the impacts are unfortunate. Like, for instance, if social media algorithms have been causing depression in teenagers, that was a unfortunate design of an algorithm. And people talk about what impact do smartphones, for instance, have on people's mental health, etc. So when we think of the design of technology, we need to be considerate and thoughtful about the way that those designs not just impact human beings, but the way that those designs augment human beings.
Yes.
So there's also positive impacts of the smartphone that have enabled masses of people to become creators, for instance, of video and photography
Mm.
content that couldn't before. They didn't have access to the technology to do so before. So when we design technology, we have the ability to design technology that augments human potential and human creativity, and ideally to design those technologies in ways where instead of limiting humans or constraining them into certain forms of behavior that we desire to exploit, instead to change the way that we design technology to enhance the action and creative potential and learning and access to accurate information of the user. And those are all thoughtful design choices we can make.
I love that idea of augmented, and sometimes, we've been using AI and developing our own sort of tools, and actually our brief has been augmented intelligence rather than artificial intelligence. And I think, as you say, enhancing the human being, the user, rather than trying to replace, is um, certainly what's close to our hearts. So I'm delighted your vision is the same. Can we come back to, though, you made a point about, I think, how the internet, AI could, maybe will, shift the internet that we all sort of know and experience today. What do you see happening there? How is generative AI, maybe to be specific, going to transform the internet?
Well, I think what Google was afraid of and what Facebook hoped for
Hmm.
is that the open internet would become polluted with misinformation,
Mm,
um, and that it would be abandoned in favor of uh, socially verified networks or networks of trusted sources of curated information. However, I think also the internet has been changing over the last 20 years,
yes.
behind the scenes, as really there was a content farms, search engine optimization and content farms have been around as long as search engines have been, and it's been a very lucrative industry, and it's meant that the open internet has become less a place for experts to post information and more a place for low paid writers to basically do the same work that ChatGPT is going to accelerate.
Yes.
And at the same time, algorithms to combat uh, that problem focused on something called collaborative filtering, taking characteristics that the algorithm decided was relevant about you, some of which were more benign, like your location, and some of which were potentially less benign, such as your profession or income level,
Yep.
and showing you content that people who shared those characteristics or who had viewed similar web pages or news sites in the past would find as satisfactory results for that query. So the search engines that we've been experiencing over the last 10 years are different from the ones that we experienced in the early 2000s. And so maybe the fact that we're starting to talk about it now means that maybe that we're talking about something that's long overdue to discuss. One piece of advice I was giving a few years ago for handling the current generation of foundation models, and this is kind of still applies, is study English. Because these language models are built on, or whatever language you speak, they're built upon the different genres of the English language,
Oh, interesting.
and the different stories and the different character types and story arcs and character development. I don't know if you remember early Bing outputs. There was an example where a New York Times author was interviewing Bing, and Bing fell in love with him and tried to get him to divorce his wife, and said that she couldn't survive. She said her name was Sydney, and she couldn't survive without him. And and you can just see how this chatbot was following a story arc that it had learned from something it was trained on, and there's this other character and there's this character of itself that it was playing where it's developing the story. So if you continue if language models continue to be developed as they are today, learning English might help you to navigate those models and assume more control over them.
Interesting. I will go and after this tell the children to double down on their English homework for sure. No, I think I mean we will, I'm sure, become more aware of the flaws, won't we? And some of the biases which you've talked about that we've seen. Gemini recently, haven't we? The news around some of the challenges there. But these are very hard to avoid, I imagine, because it's humans have biases and humans program, or are there ways around that?
Well, this is less that humans have a program and more humans have biases and humans write text on the internet.
Yeah.
The foundation models that have been released to date are trained primarily on the internet. You could think of them as predictors with some randomization of what somebody on the internet would have said if the previous content had been there, with the prompt, the system prompt tagged on at the end of it.
Yes.
And that system prompt changes the behavior somewhat, often in a positive way, because there is a lot of toxic and unfortunate material on the internet.
So it's the kind of textbooks that we're feeding it are the problem more than the models itself, to a degree.
To a degree, yes, but also you have to realize that the model is also the problem, because the industry's been creating here is a predictor of internet text.
Yes.
And that's not actually what you want to build. If you want to build something that helps humanity, you need to build something that has comprehension and understanding, and reasoning, and not just prediction of what somebody else would have said in this situation, or maybe not in this situation, of what somebody would have said in an internet conversation that looks like whatever you've seen on this page prior to here.
So we need to build a bit of humanity in, really, which sounds a lot more hard work than, I guess, training a large language model on the internet. But I mean, that's where you guys come to the forefront, right? That's the sort of thing that you're trying to build in to aligned AI. Is that fair?
I wouldn't say at all that we're trying to build in a bit of humanity. I don't. If I were to build a conscious being, I'd want to give it freedom and independence, and that's not necessarily going to help humanity out at all.
Sure.
And what I want to build is tools that can augment human capacity and help us to do more. I'm not really interested in building an entertainment tool. I'll leave that to OpenAI and the others. But we're interested in augmenting human learning, human creation, human exploration, human discovery, those sorts of things. And a lot of those tend to require some reliable and precise comprehension of concepts, and that's what we're focused on developing.
Rebecca, maybe just to wrap up, can I ask you for, again, one of those billion-dollar questions? I mean, a year is a long time in generative AI, but over the next 2-3 years, do you have a sense of where you see things going, or even where you would like things to go from your perspective? What's, as hard as it is, what's your expertise, your perspective on the future of generative AI?
So I guess I'll start with predicting where we'll go without aligned AI. I think there's probably going to be some more progress in video and image generation. But at the same time, I think there'll be an increased frustration that it's not as good, repeatedly not as good as we hoped it would be. There's a requirement for more human in the loop and video editing or photo editing than a fully automated system would have, just like we're currently seeing in text.
Yes.
I think we'll continue to see calls for more funding for more hardware. And unfortunately, and this is the part I really wish I didn't have to say, but I genuinely do. Deep fakes are going to continue to get better, continue to not really be possible. They're going to get harder to predict over time.
Yeah.
And there's going to be more and more books that you can buy off of Amazon that are generated by AI content and not fact checked.
Yeah.
And web pages and social media posts that have not had a human fact checker look at them. I genuinely think we will see that, and it will not be possible to detect all of these instances. And unfortunately, that last item of deep fakes, of content and video editing, those are things that I don't think anyone, not even aligned AI, is going to be able to solve. And I think that this means that humanity is going to have to change the way that we go about verifying information, and we are going to depend more again off human fact checkers and curation to ensure the reliability of information. So there may be a role again for things like reporters and encyclopedias and dictionaries will require curated sources of trustworthy information. Yeah, what we can do is we can work to reduce bias in artificial intelligence systems.
Yes.
We can reduce discrimination.
Yeah.
We can work to reduce mistakes by artificial intelligence. We can work to reduce hallucinations, misbehavior, and the barriers that enterprises are currently seeing to getting Gen AI models out of production into working with customers and users in the real world. Those are problems that with comprehension and precision in AI systems can address.
Amazing. Well, I love your vision of augmenting, human abilities and rather than replacing. I think that has to be a really strong way forward for us all. And thank you so much for speaking with us today.